Good morning and welcome to the Fractal Effects live stream. Please make sure you read the disclosure. If you're following along with us today, make sure you do in a demo account, as this is for educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors and this is not financial advice. We'll jump onto the charts in a minute. So although we have the alerts set up for multiple assets, right now we're looking at NAS, we have US 500. We had some moderate news drop at 10 o'clock. So right now on NAS we have a downside expansion model. We have taken out London highs. We're sitting at the top. Still waiting for confirmation. So now as soon as we get a confirmation across any of our assets, we'll jump over there. So we'll definitely be getting a confirmation during the session. US 500, bouncing off the New York fair value gap. NAS is still above London's fair value gap, and then here's New York's fair value gap. Now we are on trend right now, even though we see a downside expansion model. If we get a confirmation, a bullish confirmation, we will be looking for an entry. So remember, you want to make sure your 4-hour and your daily, that's your higher time frame bias. You want to make sure that lines up with your lower time frame, the 1, the 5, and the 15. Right now the 15 is in red. The 5 just crossed. The 1 is green. So even though we have a downside expansion model, unless we get a bearish confirmation and we get red up here on the 1 and the 5, we're not interested in a counter trend trade. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday does usually, the footprint of Tuesday is to set the low of the week. And the lows are just down here, so it could sweep here. But again, we'll just wait and watch. So in the assets that we have turned our alerts on for, we have, even through Bitcoin in there, we at least have 2 Forex pairs. We have oil in there. So any one of those can give us a confirmation first. Aussie New Zealand, for example, yesterday was a really good buy. We'll go over that trade if we have some time. London gave us a bearish confirmation, quick retracement right to the London fair value gap, and then we got a full extension. Asia gave us a bearish confirmation, retracement, a little bit late. I'm not sure if it would have been within the, just a little outside of that 1 hour. And then it gave us a small extension. Took out the bottoms here at least. Smaller range. Let's turn on standard deviations here real quick. So London gave us almost 2 standard deviations. Asia gave us at least 1. Still waiting for a confirmation across 5 different assets. Now remember, you don't want to be chasing either. You don't want to have an alert set up across every asset and then be hopping back and forth trying to do analysis. It's good to have like 2 or 3 major pairs that you trade, or assets I should say, and as soon as you get confirmation on one of them, you jump in. If you get a second confirmation, you can put it up on the chart, but you want to make sure you don't lose your focus. Still no confirmation across any of the assets that we're watching. Now this could give us an early retracement. So right now, this is our fair value gap of interest. We've already had a couple of wicks here. Our 20 is just getting past the London fair value gap. If it meets us here, could bounce off that and give us our bullish confirmation. Just got to be patient though. Still early. And depending on what kind of package you have set up with TradingView, you might be limited to how many alerts you can put on. But I think even with the basic package, at least, I think you get at least 5, if not more alerts than that, which is more than enough. Like I said, you don't want to be looking at every single Forex pair or indice. Like you want to make sure you focus in on, pick one indice, one Forex pair, and then have oil as your backup. Those are the 3. Set the alert, and which again, we show you on the Learning Hub how to set up a proper alert, but you'll get an alert every time you get a confirmation across all 3 sessions. Right now we're slowly pulling back into this fair value gap of interest. The only thing I don't like right now is this downside expansion model, because again, today is Tuesday. Tuesday, there's a high probability, I should say, that Tuesday could set the low of the week. Now our low from yesterday is right here. Keep in mind we go over these key areas to look for, or the weekly footprint in the Learning Hub on Fractal Effects. But that's our daily low. Could even paint out the high from yesterday. So since we have a downside expansion model and it's Tuesday, this is why this confirmation is so important, and why our higher time frame and our lower time frames have to match up for confluence. Because if we get a bullish confirmation here, then it's not necessarily, Tuesday doesn't necessarily have to set the low, and we'd be more confident in taking a buy. But all of a sudden, if this falls through and we get a bearish confirmation and it hits yesterday's lows, and we get a 1 and a 5 red, then that would have saved us. Right now, we are, again, bullish on the higher time frames. We'd like to get a trend trade as opposed to a counter trend trade today. But yeah, the only 2 things as far as confluence that signal a downside is the downside expansion model and the weekly footprint. So we're at that fair value gap of interest. Our 20 EMA slowly coming up there. We want to make sure this fair value gap's been painted out properly. Yep. No other fair value gaps in here. The only other one we have is the opening gap. Now, if we push past the 20 and don't bounce off this 50 and don't bounce off the New York fair value gap, then we're most likely continuing down. It's only 10:45 right now, so we have, or 10:43, we still have some time. Ideally, we'd like to get a confirmation around 11:15. That's Eastern Standard Time, New York time. So down here is where you adjust your time on the charts. You want to make sure you're matched up with New York time. Just so I don't say something here and then you're trying to figure out exactly, or doing the calculation, depending on what time zone you're in. 15 still red. Now we're on the other side of the consequence encroachment of this fair value gap. It's also showing some rejection off the 20 and London. So this is now what we consider an early retracement. Could go retrace a little bit deeper. But now we want to see if it pushes through and goes down, or if it gives us our bullish confirmation. Still no alert across any of the other assets. Those two things save us time from jumping around. One, setting up the alerts on your major assets, so you only jump over once you get the alert on your phone. And two, saving time jumping across all these higher time frames to see if we're bullish or bearish. Just take a look at the screen and we're good. We're pushing past the 20 now. There's the 238 right in the middle. Now let's see if we push past the 238. It will most likely sweep these lows, and then we want to see what happens in this fair value gap. It's either going to use the midpoint here to push down, or it's going to again bounce off of this. Since there isn't too much news today, market's more or less just kind of hunting for liquidity. So there's the New York fair value gap. I want to see if it gets below here. If it gets below here and bounces off of this, we might have a bearish day. Take out the lows, which again, Tuesday, downside expansion model. Tuesday sweeps the previous day's low, sets the low for the week. That could happen. That's why a confirmation is so crucial. Three things: confirmation, range model, and the higher time frame, EMAs. All of those you want to match up for confluence right from the get-go. Because it's such a slow news day, it's taking a minute across even any of the other assets. No confirmation yet. Make sure you understand all the basics. Currently, right now, the educational material that's in the Learning Hub, you can learn that on a weekend. Learn it on a weekend, practice for a month in a demo account, and you should be proficient in finding these high probability trade setups on your own. Then even this channel becomes just another point of confluence. So we are getting some rejection now off the 238. Let's see if this candle wants to push up or continue down. Now, if we do get a bullish confirmation, since we've already had this early retracement, we will most likely not retrace again. It'll use the first fair value gap that's presented as a potential accelerant to just push up and take out previous day's highs. So we're green on the 1, the 5, 15 still red. No other alerts across any other assets yet, no confirmations. So right now we've set an alert on AUD NZD, that's the Australian dollar against the New Zealand, GBP, JPY, oil, and I believe we even have US 30 in there, even though it's not on the charts here. And we have set one on Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin is an interesting, remember if you're a beginner, I'd stay away from Bitcoin. It's pretty erratic. You want to make sure that you understand how the lot sizes work. But I've said it before, the Saturday New York session for Bitcoin is usually pretty clean. So now we're pushing past this fair value gap. "40 seconds, this candle close. If this candle closes above this fair value gap, we're most likely pushing up to get that confirmation. So if it closes here, the next candle might just dip in, hit the midpoint, and then give us our bullish confirmation. US 500 right up against that 238. Rejected off of it twice already, here and here. Neither one of these has swept any lows yet or taken out any highs. Still just drifting in the middle. About 5 minutes away from 11. That's a nice fair value gap. If this sticks, this might be our fair value gap of interest once we get that bullish confirmation. 4 minutes till 11. No other assets have confirmed yet. About 1 minute, 55 seconds left. I want to see what this fair value gap looks like. A little under a minute left for this candle close. Fifteen seconds. As soon as this fair value gap is formed, we're going to delete this one. So again, since we've had an early retracement, we get a confirmation this is our fair value gap of interest now. So it could give us a confirmation, dip down, keep going unless another fair value gap is created. Then that one will become our fair value gap of interest. Still no confirmation across any of our assets. Now this is pushing higher. Still driving. So as soon as we get a bullish confirmation, we are on trend. Ideally, we'd like to get a bullish confirmation before it taps this. So for beginners, we're not teaching any early entries. You want to wait for a confirmation. Still just patiently waiting. Now we're back at that fair value gap. Our 15 is now green as well. So we could use this fair value gap as a propellant to get that confirmation. Still no confirmation across any of our assets. It's mainly because there's no news today. No real news, I should say. Still stuck at that 238 for US 500. NAS has tapped that fair value gap of interest now. We would have liked to seen it draw in a little deeper, hit the midpoint, but it's tapped it. Let's see if it comes back to it, if it just keeps pushing up. So as mentioned before, there are advanced entry models that we teach in the Learning Hub. During these sessions, for beginners, we're only going to be teaching the actual proper confirmation entry. Digging in deeper now to that same fair value gap. Now we've hit the consequence encroachment. Still having a tough time giving us that confirmation though. Pushing through that fair value gap now. If we sweep these lows, we're most likely going all the way down. If it closes within this fair value gap, it's going back to the 20 here. So it wicks the 20, closes in the fair value gap. It's most likely heading back up. about 3 minutes away from 11:15. That's when we'd like to get our confirmation. 15 minutes just turned red again. So it's just bouncing between red and green here. That means there's a shift about to happen. No assets have actually confirmed yet, so we're not missing anything. Trying to make its way back to the 20 EMA. We'd like to be in a high probability trade setup in the next 15 minutes. So we just got a confirmation on US 30. Gonna switch over there. So we got a red box on US 30. Assuming we got the same downside expansion model. Downside expansion model. We had a lot of gesticulation. I was about to confirm bearish. Came up, took out the highs. This late in the game. I'd like to see it come down here, but it might not. That's where our 20 is. We do have another fair value gap that's forming. Let's see if that sticks in the next 3 minutes, 37 seconds. This fair value gap is left open, and we'll just look here. But for now, this is the area of interest. Now we are at the 238 as well. So let me turn on our standard deviations for this as well. One standard deviation. That's our low-hanging fruit that we're aiming for. Also take a look real quick to see where previous day's highs was. Pretty big run up yesterday. NAS also pushing off the 20 now. If it closes in this fair value gap or above this fair value gap, it will most likely push up and give us our bullish confirmation. Nah, still struggling to get through this fair value gap now. 1 minute 47 seconds. I want to see if this fair value gap is left open. And that will become our new area of interest. Keep in mind we have a downside expansion model. We have a red box, but we are still bullish on the higher time frames, the 1 and the 5. I'd like 15 to turn green as well, or for us to at least get over this 238. Just want to see where yesterday's lows were. So if US 30 has already taken out previous day's lows, which I believe it has, yeah, previous day's lows were down here. So this is definitely more of an interesting buy. Since we've already swept lows, we just got to get over that 238. Low resistance. Let's get rid of this. $37 seconds. That is now our new fair value gap of interest. 20 still down here though, so we're going to leave this one open. NAS bounced off that fair value gap, but still above the 20. On the 1 minute, we are red. I want to see what US 30 does. Now keep in mind, we're going to be, now that we're checking out many different assets, just take a look at the top to know exactly what we're looking at. Dow Jones Industrial, that's the US 30. There's the ticker, US 30. Obviously you can line it up with the broker that you use. And understand the lot size as well. Here's your lot size calculator. Make sure you're risking no more than 1%. If you're following along with this today, you should be in a demo account. So you practice, and understand how to take these high probability trades on your own. So we just tapped it. I'd like to see it get to at least the consequence encroachment. Could move fast here, but I want to see it come to the midpoint at least. Just barely tapped it. Hasn't really entered it. I want to see it draw in deeper. 20 slowly making its way up. This would be a good area to start looking for a buy. We're still bouncing off that 238. Again, they're using that to engineer new liquidity. There are people going short from there, people going long from here. I want to see how it interacts at the midpoint. It draws in deeper, taps the 20 again, just like Nas did. Nas tapped it twice. So right at the midpoint. So since we're already at 1125, this is the only asset I'm interested in to see what happens here. We have had no other confirmations. And remember, whatever asset you're trading, make sure you're looking at it on the 1, the 5, the 15. Still want to see something happen on a lower time frame. It's making its way slowly back down to the 20. Now let's see where this candle closes. Closes in this fair value gap. We could still be heading up. 3 minutes left. I want to see an engulfing candle. One minute, 49 seconds left. Just want to frame this up, See what it looks like. Still waiting. $50 left in this candle. That's why it's important to watch each candle close. Could just break this range and continue down. NAS now bounced off of London's fair value gap. We did not sweep these lows, which is a good sign. So if this closes above, this will most likely head up to, but we're already past 11, or we're at 11:30 with no confirmation, so we're not interested here. Four seconds left in. So that would be most likely our high probability trade setup. Our low here and one standard deviation. That's our low hanging fruit, just a little under 3. NAS now still struggling to get past that fair value gap. We'll keep an eye on it since we're watching this for the next little bit. The second we push past and close above here, this thing is most likely pushing up after that. Just want to see where 2 standard deviations is. That's where we roll our stops. Just going to make this, I believe that's either London or Asia's fair value gap that's being extended forward, this red line. So I'm going to make that where I would move my stop loss to break even and take some off the top. And 1 standard deviation would be the overall target. We're still having a tough time getting over the 238. So we want to see price jump over the 238, close, and then push up from there. We're past 11:30, so no new trade setups. No other assets have confirmed. These are our 2 primary, or not 2, sorry, I should say US 30 is the only one. As soon as we close above the 238, then there's a higher probability that we're going to push past this. This is break even. That's Asia's fair value gap. So break even takes them off the top, and 1 standard deviation. Now we don't want to see too much time taken here though. We want to be able to push past this 238, otherwise it could reject off of here the longer it sticks. We always give it at least 3 candles. 3 candles are still just pushing here. And then we either break even and or get out in profit. NAS now still having a tough time getting over that fair value gap, but I think it will most likely close over here. NAS came down, could not sweep this low, set a new higher low, which is usually a good indication. We're still above the 20, usually a good indication that we're going to push up. For US 30, the only real resistance for us now is the 238, which is a powerful line. That's why it could turn around here, but we already swept the lows, previous lows. We've tapped the 20. We've pushed up from this fair value gap. And now that's the only real, again, point of resistance. I'd like to see this next candle just at least get over the 238. And just so you guys know what price this line is at, we'll put that there. That's where you should be breaking even, or sorry, moving your stops to break even and taking some off the table. Again, still pushing off that 238. But we're going to trust our bullish bias. We're going to trust the higher time frame EMAs. We've swept the lows. The only thing that's not in confluence right now is the range model. We have a downside expansion model. Also keep in mind, our goal is to be out by noon. So even if you're drifting here and you haven't even hit, your break even or your 1 standard deviation, you want to get out. At noon, a different algorithm takes over the markets, which is a little bit more chaotic. And it could reverse. It's about 26 minutes left. The sooner we close above this 238, the better. We've had 1 candle rejection. This is candle 2. You don't want to see 3 candles rejecting from a high resistance point like this. Still just waiting. I want to clear that 238. NAS back at the 20, back in this fair value gap. Sooner NAS gets out of this fair value gap, sooner it's going to push in either direction. So we got 1 minute 9 seconds left in this candle close. So if this candle fails to get over that 238, I'm only going to give it one more candle. With capital preservation, that's the first goal. "31 seconds left. We want this candle to close above the 238. 24 seconds. Okay, that's what we wanted to see. Now we want to see it use the 238 to push off of and continue up here. About 20 minutes left. As slowly trying to close above that fair value gap still. Finally getting a push. US 30 on the right. We want to make sure we bounce off that 238, not close under it. Three minutes left in this candle. We want to stay above 238. NAS pushing up. 2 minutes, 20 seconds left. NAS closes above this fair value gap, it will most likely push up. So we're getting a nice wick here. 1 minute 57 seconds. Let's see if that sticks. US 30 back at the fair value gap. If this candle doesn't give us our push, it doesn't get above 238, we will most likely conclude it there. We do not want to see it pushing any deeper this late in the game. So we get 47 seconds. NAS, again, tough time getting over that fair value gap. One second. That's a nice wick. I want to see at least get over this. Continue up. We'd like to see this start driving now. 14 minutes left till 9. Remember, by 9 o'clock, if you haven't hit 2 standard deviations here, I mean not 2 standard deviations, sorry, 1 to 2. That's our 1 to 2. And have not moved your stop loss and taken some off the table, then you want to just close the trade wherever it is. We'd like to at least get to a place where we're in a safe trade and we've banked some profits. Finally getting a decent push. We want to get over these highs as quickly as possible. NAS still at that fair value gap, unable to get over it. US 30 taking its time to clear this high. About 13 minutes left. Back at the 238. Got 1 minute 30 seconds. Again, I do not want to see another candle close under the 238. 1 minute left. This candle closes below 238. We're out. As our probabilities decrease, the longer we stay in one area, especially when we're having a tough time clearing highs, or be it lows if we're in a sell. 20 seconds left. We're back at this fair value gap. And only 11 minutes left till noon anyways. You should at least be in profit. I would close the trade there. I don't like seeing this much gesticulation. So we will conclude the session there. Please check us out on fractaleffects.com. Please hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you know when we're live. Currently we're live Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And we will see you again tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day.